audience, anytime it's an icebreaker, I get so stoked. So I'm super excited to see this person. This person's title of their speech is Connecting with Toastmasters. Please, everyone, give a warm, nice welcome to Steve Friedman.
Yay!
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. It's great to be here tonight. So I truly struggled with my speech tonight. I've written many speeches, over 100 blogs for my website, and I spent a couple of weeks just trying to figure out what I actually wanted to write and what I wanted to share with you, my new friends, and teachers at Toastmasters. In fact, last week I spent hours on a Tuesday night writing out a speech about my life and my life's journey as an introvert, which is a common thread that I found I have in my life, and I've written a couple of books about it. But as I was reading through that speech, several times, starting to practice it, I focused on one of the last lines in my speech. And it read, "I've come to Toastmasters to learn how to engage and connect with humility, vulnerability, and confidence." And as I reread that line and the preceding pages, I just felt like what I had written was not exactly what I wanted to provide. I felt like it wasn't riveting. I also felt like it was too formal. And so I decided that was not my aim here tonight at Toastmasters. So I took that speech and I ripped it up. Thankfully, I've ripped up the correct speech. I've mentioned to many of you that I came here after a 2-minute speech about my book a couple of months ago, and that really at the end of the speech, I finished and I felt completely removed from the room and a bit shell-shocked. And so I joined Toastmasters after that because I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to learn how to provide informal topics with other people, with yourselves, with my readers, with my family and friends. I just felt the other speech was not what my aim was here tonight, and so I proceeded to rewrite my speech. Yes, it is true, I am an introvert. As a kid, it appeared I just thought differently, I played differently with others, I engaged with others, I just felt different. I wasn't sure why, but it just stuck with me, and as a result, I ended up having pretty low self-esteem and confidence as a kid and a teenager, and it spiraled downward through into adulthood. So what I chose to do was hide my true self and really try to mimic those that were more sociable people around me. While I wore that mask, and it did help me further my career at Shell Oil, I was honestly miserable. I was eating too much, I drank too much, my face was red with rashes, and my skeleton was racked with nerve disorders. It was really a mess. And when I got home, my family got the remnants of me because I crashed on the couch, and I was just completely exhausted from a day of acting at work. So I really felt like that was not the solution, but I kept pushing on because that's what I felt like I needed to do, and that's what I knew. Finally, in 2007, I was on a business trip to Tokyo, and I had the good opportunity to spend the weekend in Hiroshima, which was awesome. I spent a little bit of time on the banks of the Matayosu River journaling about what was going on, and I really came to the conclusion that I was a wreck, and I really couldn't continue that way. What could I do? So, long story short, I eventually changed my life around. I learned about my introversion, and I even embraced those traits that I had hidden for years. I shared my quiet observational skills, my balanced analysis, my collaborative nature, and even my obsessive planning tendencies with my team. And I decided I was either going to lead with authenticity regardless of the consequences. So do you know what happened? Well, my career trajectory actually stalled, but besides that issue, I began to connect with people, with my teammates, with other people in ways that I hadn't done before. I changed my work-life balance, and I just had confidence for the first time since I was probably a toddler. So it took me a long time, but eventually in 2018 I retired. And I was prouder of the work I had done since 2007 than I was in the first 20 years of my rising career. I was excited about retirement, and I was ready to go home and connect. Since retiring, I've focused on connecting in 3 different ways. First, with my 3 wonderful children. So I was fortunate that I retired before COVID. And I was also fortunate in a way that our middle child, who was working up in New York City, came home as a result of COVID and Broadway shutting down. And our other 2 children, Noah and Gwendolyn, were taking classes virtually throughout 2020. So we really had all 5 of us at home together for the first time in years, and perhaps the last time, really. And so it was a great opportunity to have special moments together, as stressed as it might have been during COVID. And we really had a great time. And that's especially special for us now, because in 2021, they've gone off in all their different directions as we expected. And so we can still look back on a really fruitful 2020. Now, Madeline is working theater in Houston. Noah's a freshman at Ohio State University. And Gwendolyn, who's 27 and has Down syndrome, is really the main reason why we're here in Austin. She achieved her life's dream of independence, and now she's a resident at the Marbridge Residential Living Community in Manchac. My second focus is on writing. So when I was in high school, I loved writing, and I was on the school paper, and I dreamed of a career in writing, in journalism. However, my parents seemed to convince me that that was not the best path, and that business was going to be a more lucrative and secure path. And they were probably correct, actually. However, when I retired, I was determined to follow that dream so I wouldn't have any regrets later in life. And so for me, writing brings me joy and fulfillment. But even more interestingly is it brings me the opportunity to connect with other people, other writers, readers, and so forth. And I really missed out on that opportunity for much of my 30-year career. My third area of focus is my most important. My greatest honor is to grow old with my bride of 30 years, Jennifer.
Aww.
She's been my rock through this whole journey. We shared our fears and our dreams together. She listened to my anxieties and my drunken exploits. She's raised our kids when I was a bit self-absorbed, and she's always been my greatest cheerleader. Now we are empty nesters, recently moved to Austin, and we're in many ways reconnecting for the first time in a long time ourselves. She is my partner in life, and I am truly living the dream. So I ditched my original speech to share with you my story and my heart. I'm before you here at Toastmasters to connect. I welcome your support and your learnings. Not to prejudice the evaluations, but for those in the room, I brought some books that are in the back of the room, which you're welcome to take with you or share with your favorite introvert. Thank you.